from, because you probably have to break this down for me, but there's submissions, or there's a submissive positions, and then there's dominant positions, and then you kind of have like a scale between that. And as you're rolling, you kind of go from dominant to submissive to dominant, or yeah, dominant to not so dominant to dominant to not so dominant. If you were to apply that to like real life or to life off the mats, of having to kind of like when you're talking to people, when you're communicating with people, going from like I have to back up because I know that they're being aggressive or something, or that they know more than me, so I have to be a little humble and realize that I have to learn something from them, to also being like, hey, there's something I could probably teach them and maybe help them with whatever they're doing. Do you see that kind of like you can apply that off the mats?
Yeah, I wouldn't see it as much as like dominant versus submissive. It's more of it's a give and take kind of thing. So push and pull, you give some to take some, and it all depends on There's a lot of communication that goes on when you're rolling, like unspoken, like
Body language,
the way people, where they put pressure, how they grip you, how they grab, like all that stuff will tell you a little bit about what it is they're trying to do. And your job is to just have the answers, and you communicating things back to them about what you're trying to do. I think the more you can understand with less information, or without with the unspoken information and unspoken communication, the better off you will be. And that's the same thing in life too. I think it's a lot of people, you get a lot of times you can get focused on trying to communicate very bluntly or very explicitly. I would say like spoken, like how, what is it, guys want girls to just tell us what they want, right? And girls are more like, I would like for you to just know what I want without having to say it to you. It's kind of that kind of a push and pull thing in jiu-jitsu. There's a lot of both. There's a lot of, this is what I'm trying to do. And there's a lot of, I'm going to tiptoe around some things. I'm going to give you some things. I'm going to take some things, and you're going to have to figure out what it is I'm trying to communicate.
Yeah. And then Dave is like, you can get them and you can try to submit them, or you can just play with them. Just keep going around and around in circles until they get tired. And then you have, it's what he says. You go into the role, you get everything done. You can either do it all in one go, or you can have the endurance to just to wear them out. And then you can get them with a much easier move, or get them with a much easier submission.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. There's plenty of different ways to approach a role. Like someone will just impose their tactics on you immediately and try to get to that submission as quickly as possible. And other people will treat it like they're playing with their food.
So it's more self-control. Like you learn a lot about how to control what you do.
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool when you first start out. I mean, you're fighting for your life every role because everyone else is better than you. And then you start to learn moves that ultimately get you to the positions to where you start to beat people. You start to submit people or beat them on points, whatever it is. But then you get to another level where you get better, and you start to have the presence of mind to like calm down and really think about what it is you ultimately want to do. Think about what it is they're doing, where your opening is, or openings are multiple, and to process that information, to have that presence of mind, and then aptly choosing what it is you want to do instead of being so amped up because it's a fight. I think that's a really cool point to get to. And that's something that I'm starting to be able to do that. Like when I roll with lower, like with say white belts and blue belts and stuff. But then so I'm like, okay, I'm able to do this. I can think about I can stay calm during the grapple and really pick and choose what it is I want to do. But then you grapple someone that's better than you again, and you're like, oh my God, I'm just fighting for my life here. And you're like, you can't think about much at all because they're just not giving you that time or space.
That's something that I started learning, that I think it's been about 6 months since I started. And when I started out, of course, everyone was better than me. But now whenever I'm with someone, I'm rolling or maybe drilling with someone that just started, it's so humbling, but also kind of cool to see that, because they don't know how to move their body. They don't know how to, like, you show them something and they're like, is it this way or that way? And then they're like, try to move their legs one way, move their arms another way. And it's just like, understanding that it's easy to see how much you've grown over even a span of 6 months, which isn't really a long time. But when you get the reps in and you understand your own self-control and be able to move your body the way that your brain wants it to be moved, and be able to say, I want to go this way with this position. I have to make sure I have my body in this way, and not being scared of like there would be times where I was like, you have to put your leg all the way out further than would be normally comfortable. Because, the natural position for humans is the fetal position, to be crunched up and to be in a very comfortable position. But when you start extending out your entire body to everywhere that's further than like your little circle, it feels really uncomfortable. But in jiu-jitsu, you need to do that because people can grab your legs, pull it over, and be like, that's a nice leg lock, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, what was I going to say? Yeah, it's really cool to have that. That's something that you'll always have if you keep training, is you can measure kind of how far you've gotten with when you roll with people that are new. There's going to be people that come in that are brand new, like, they're just going to roll in, and every once in a while you just see how much easier it is for you to deal with those people that have no experience, and you just know that, oh, so long, like 6 months ago, I was that person. Now only 6 months have passed, and I can pretty much have my way with someone that is brand new, or someone might be way bigger and stronger, and you still can't have your way with them, even though they have no experience, and you have 6 months worth. But then you'll see when you have 12 or 18 months worth of experience, then someone that's brand new comes in and they are much bigger and stronger than you, but you'll still be able to have your way with them. So it's just kind of that progression.
Yeah. And it's also kind of nice because the entire world around me, like what I do professionally, what I try to do educationally and everything can be like fully like full of chaos and everything. But cool thing about jiu-jitsu is, one, having the consistency, two, having the intent of wanting to learn and doing that every day or every 2 days consistently, every weeks to months. It just shows the power of how being consistent, being intentful, like having the intent to learn and doing that with a passion will change something in less time than it takes other people.
Mm-hmm. It's how it is for everyone. Jiu-jitsu is like the one place for a lot of people to just put their outside life on hold for a couple hours and just focus on a craft. I think that's a really healthy thing to have for a lot of people.
Yeah, you say you get lost in it. Like, that's the one time where you can actually focus on what you want to get done.
Yeah.
And there's like the world falls apart.
Exactly. There's nothing else outside those four walls. I don't even think about what's outside those walls. 2 hours goes by, 3 hours, 4 hours. I was there yesterday for like 5 hours. Yeah.
It's just doing something that you love. You don't care about the time. You don't care about the effort. You just care about doing it and keep doing it, and then being better than you were yesterday. There's a quote that I know when you're referring to the other gyms, how they're more aggressive, more like, I want to win, beat this person. There's a quote that I know that the enemy is out there, not in here. That the people that you're rolling with, your gym, your community, are friendly people. They're not the people you want to attack. Right. And even in a competition, you're not trying to attack them, right? You're not trying to attack your opponent. You're trying to beat them, but also it's still a friendly fight, right? You're not trying to like break their arm. You're not trying to actually put them into a submission and they get choked out. They're not the enemy.
No, I would prefer for them to tap, sure, but that is what I'm putting them in a situation where I'm like, hey, that is going to happen. Like, I will do that if you don't give up right now.
Yeah, it's just it's being able to be very dangerous, but also having the kindness to people who can't help themselves. Mm-hmm. And there's also that level of responsibility if you go out in the real world, even though no one's holding you accountable and no one's saying that you have to help other people. There's just that inherent need that I can protect someone if I have to. And if someone's in danger, or if I can, not to be a hero, not to have like that hero mentality, like, oh, I'm going to save the day and help someone else. But if someone's like truly in danger, it's not just physical danger, but if like they're like emotionally in danger, or like you can kind of detect when people are having a bad day or something, like there's that level of responsibility that you've done a lot of work in your life, or at least I've done a lot of work in my life, that I can help other people and not just kind of ignore the small little things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it kind of makes sense.
Like when you become more intelligent, you become like a higher, I'm not saying I'm very intelligent, but when you start learning more things and you can do things that other people can't, And you kind of realize that most people don't want to get out of their comfort zone. They don't want to be a better person. They just want to be comfortable with the world that they are in, the 9 to 5 job, to have that routine of I go to work at 9, get there, do my stuff, get lunch, finish everything by 5, and then come back home and watch TV until 8. And they just do that same cycle all the time. They don't have that internal drive. And I think it was Jordan Peterson who said that intelligence is a moral responsibility.
Yeah, sure. And it's like you don't blame people for being ignorant. Try to help them gain some perspective instead. You can't blame someone for not having an understanding of how their body moves or how to fight, or if they're not as smart as someone else, whatever smart might mean. But yeah, it's a moral responsibility to try to make sure that you use your knowledge for good.
Yeah. Do you remember that one scene from Avatar: The Last Airbender when Uncle Iroh is helping that one bandit who's trying to rob him fix his stance and his position?
No, I don't remember that.
Yeah. So Uncle Iroh's helping, is kind of just sitting drinking tea, and this bandit comes up and says, "Hey old man, I'm gonna steal from you." And he has a knife, but his body's all crooked. His feet are tilted inward instead of like outward, like a good stance. And so Uncle Iroh, instead of being like offended or trying to be like, "I'm an old man, why are you trying to attack me?" He helps the person see that there's a better way of doing this. Even though, yes, you're a bandit and you're not doing the right thing, you can still be helped. I mean, that's kind of like character development. You have the desire, which is what the character wants and the character needs. What do they need to grow, and what do they want that doesn't necessarily help them grow? And their need can be their want, and their want can be their need. But overall, you have like what will help them internally and what will help them externally, or what they want externally. And kind of like Prince Zuko's this little ball of chaos is like, yeah, he wants to please his father and be redeemed, and that's his destiny to get the avatar. But then you have Uncle Iroh's kind of like, that's not your destiny. Your destiny does not come from the outside. It comes from within. It comes from what you want to do and how you can help the world. Not the entire world, just the world that you live in. And make someone else's day better so that they can help someone else. Because everyone's going to have their bad day. Everyone's going to have their little downfall. And then if you don't have to help everyone, but you just have to help the people that don't take too much time, and they can help themselves once they can see that they are worth helping. Kind of apply that to Jiu-Jitsu. When you're working with someone as a lower belt, you're doing the same things you've done 100,000 times, especially if you're a black belt. You've done it like a billion times and you've seen it before, but you kind of also see in their eyes, or their gears are turning, like they're trying to learn something new, and you can help them by not doing anything, by just like, if they're trying to go one way, you kind of just add a little resistance and be like, you can't do that. Try this. And like, oh, that does make sense.
Yeah, absolutely. That happens all the time. And the black belts that I'm around, they always say the only difference between me and you is time on the mat. And like Dave always says, the one thing he has more of than like everybody like in the gym combined is losses. Because he's been doing it for so long. And learned so much. He was like in my shoes where I'm at, as a blue belt competitor. And he took a lot of losses on the way to being this really good grappler that he is now, as almost a black belt for almost, closing in on 10 years.
Good decisions comes from experience. Experience comes from making bad decisions. So Dave's done so many has a lot of really good decisions now because he gets it from his experience. Yeah. But he also learned from it. He didn't just let it happen again. It's not like,
well, at that point, what are you even, if you're not trying to learn, then you're just doing it for fun. That definitely is a difference between an amateur and a professional mindset. Like he says all the time, the amateur practices a move till he does it right, till he can do it right. Professional practices a move until they can't do it wrong. Yeah.